The story of my downfall began with a doorbell and a trio of uninvited guests. I clearly remember that Sunday morning when 3 men arrived at my door, wearing black polo shirts with a small red N on them. I've also noticed a branded truck parked on the street, and it kinda surprised me. I had no idea Netflix had those. Anyways, the visitors briefly introduced themselves, but now I can't recall their names, even if my life depended on it. But that doesn't really matter. You'll understand why later. What I remember about our conversation is how bizarre it was. They stated that I was chosen as a candidate for the regional research campaign on viewer habits and perception. Sounded lame, so I was about to close the door in their faces with a hard pass. But one thing stopped me. The company is willing to pay $100 for each day of participation, the guy said, and I was calculating things in my mind by the time he finished that sentence. So, yeah, I've asked them in and we discussed the details. At first, I was mostly skeptical about the whole shady deal. Who on earth would pay that much for basically lying on your couch and watching stupid shows? But as the company representatives explained the whole thing, soon enough it became clear that the whole thing is dead serious. The research would last for at least 6 months, and there was a great probability that it could get extension period if the results show potential. I would be expected to watch anything I like on the platform for at least 3 hours a day, and at this point, it would stress multiple times that the number is mandatory and skipping or slacking would not be tolerated. The patented eye motion detected device would be installed by my TV or desktop screen. My choice, to track and submit my sight focus on the screen. I've asked all sorts of questions that I could come up with, trying to check for second bottom or tiny text paragraphs, but there were none of the flaws I could imagine. With offers like this, you could expect some fraud scenarios where you end up owing money for breaking some agreement point you were too lazy to read through or simply misunderstood. But this one was clear as sky. I skip a day, my role in project is terminated. No hard feelings. Besides, those were some good money. $3,000 for watching comedy shows every day. Yes, please. So I've accepted their offer. Next week, I was supposed to get a full body exam and make sure I have no health issues that would alter my experience during the research period. So I got one, and soon enough the results came in stating that everything is okay, so I could proceed. Next thing, set up an installation. The van stopped by on a Friday and a couple tech guys set up a special version of Netflix app on my TV and synchronized the tracking device with it. The thing looked just like a black indoor camera, the one that you get if you want to check out your cats while you're away. Technicians explained how it works. If I see the green light flashing, it means that my eye focus is correct. If it's red, I'm looking away from the screen. They also assured me that this thing is unable to capture video, so I shouldn't have to worry about my privacy or anything. Yeah, right, I said to myself, as I've decided that I'd better not feel too relaxed around this thing. Lastly, on Sunday, the original trio paid me a visit and we signed the papers and I got my credentials for the test account. It came in a stylish black envelope with the same red N at the corner. The research should have started next day, on Monday, but as we shook hands, I walked them out of my apartment. I've decided to log in and have a sneak peek of the whole thing. There was absolutely no difference between regular and research accounts. Same login screen. Same options. The paper with my login and password information was a wild mix of letters, numbers, and symbols. As I've put them in and made it through the form screen, I was greeted by the home section interface. My username was set to Watcher032, and there was also a timer underneath it, which I soon understood counted the time to a research start. That was pretty much it. Nothing special, so I quickly lost interest. Next day, after the regular day at my job, I sat down on the couch with a bottle of soda and a pack of chips, ready to earn some real money. Somewhere deep inside, I still thought that the whole thing is not serious, and that if I will get at least $500 a month, it will be a win-win situation. That day I've decided to start rewatching The Office. What a show. As I fired it up, I checked the tracking thing. It was gleaming with a greenish light that turned red the very same moment I've looked at it directly. So, no problems here. Good, I thought. And the other thing I've noticed? There was a thin stripe at the bottom of the screen that was barely visible when I've started and gradually filled from left to right, changing color from red to orange to yellow to green, and I got the idea that it represented my duty time for the day. Indeed, as I've hit the 3-hour mark, it flashed a couple of times and disappeared as if saying, "Your job here is done. See you tomorrow." But one can't get enough of The Office. That simple. So I've sat there some more, finishing my drink and eating all the snacks. Next day, the story repeated itself. And the next. And you know what's great? Each morning, as I've checked my bank account, the sum there went up with a fresh 100 lying on top of my shameless small pile of savings. Soon enough, I got the full taste of my new life as a lab rat. I had money. I could quit my job if I wanted. I hated it there and the pay was low. So I did. Now my day belonged just to me, so I could do stuff. Go have breakfast in that place across town instead of choking with a granola bar on my way to the office. Sure. Go wander in the vinyl record store instead of a boring-ass meeting. Yes, please. My new job was not demanding at all. No reports, no forms, no calls. Just be there and have fun for 3 hours. Or more. Do you know how many great shows are on Netflix? I was basically living the dream. I have even stopped my clumsy attempts with cooking. Why would I cook if I could just order? Of course, if you're from New York, LA, or any other large city, you're probably cracking a smile on a guy who gets $3,000 per month and acts as if he's the king of the world. But luckily for me, I live in a small rural town. Couple of weeks later, there was a storm and electricity went down. I didn't notice that as I was sleeping late, so the phone call woke me up. "Mr. Grayson, we are aware of the problem. The issue will be fixed in shortest term possible. Feel free to continue as soon as things go back to normal." The voice in the speaker said, and I had to get myself a good old mug of coffee to understand that was somebody from Netflix. Yet indeed, 3 hours later, the light was on again. So that evening, I could return to watching stuff. As the calendar marked 3 months since experiment start, I've got another uninvited guest. This time, it was a doctor, who introduced himself as Dr. Kowalski. I've remembered the name, as one of my grandmothers was Polish. He explained that I should go through a general checkup to see if anything changed with my health during the past months of the research routine. So a flashlight to my eye, that horrible doctor thing to my ear, temperature measured, and he went away satisfied. And so, it would continue for more boring pages describing me putting the money to trash and building symbiotic relationship with my couch. If I'd not meet the worst enemy of the man, boredom. After 4 months from the start of the research, I've watched everything I had in my backlog and had no time for when I had a regular job. By the end of the 5th, everything that looked more or less interesting to my eye, but was not good enough to binge earlier. Half a year later, I've watched all the things at the bottom of the sci-fi and fantasy section. And by the end of the year, I was just sitting there, watching Brazilian soap operas and cooking shows. And that goddamn tracker was as if winking at me with red light each time I've decided to look away at my phone. Or just at the wall behind the TV. I was literally bored to death there. I was dying inside, bit by bit. But hey, money makes the world go round, and I know no better way to get some in a more stylish and convenient way. So there I was every day, sitting at my couch with my eyes glued to the armored troubles of Senorita Velquez, or whatever her name was. I've tried to overcompensate my boredom with new things. I bought a bunch of new trendy clothes, had a pretty expensive haircut, bought myself a PS5, and all the variety of beer I could find in my town. It didn't help much. It still felt as if something was sucking me out dry day by day, and God no, I'm not speaking about a creepy life force sucking program or anything. It was boredom, that just in the manner of the Chinese water torture drove me crazy 3 hours per day. It all ended in one night. That day I turned the TV on late, around 8:45, and picked some documentary about forging and ironworks. But then the unexpected thing happened. I woke up. Realizing that I woke up, meaning that I fell asleep, I rushed and checked the clock. It was 1:11 in the morning. I've turned on the TV, as it automatically went to sleep mode due to stupid automatic switch off timer. Green Planet my ass. As Netflix loaded, there was a black pop-up screen saying just one thing: Watcher 32, account suspended. Returning to login screen in 10, 9. Oh shit. I messed up. I messed up bad. I should call them and explain that it's not my fault. That something happened. I need to come up with something. I said to myself as I opened the Netflix support on my phone. Yes, hello? This is Jack Grayson, the Watcher 32. There was a terrible incident with the tracking device. I'm sorry, who? The voice on the other end replied, Jack Grayson. I'm in your research group for habits, or how is it called? My tracking device. I've insisted. I'm sorry, Mr. Grayson? What research group are you talking about? I'm afraid I am not familiar with anything like that. What tracking device are you referring to? The voice said. The one for the eye movement detection. It's broken. That's why I failed the duty today. I didn't lose hope. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the subject. I will contact my superiors and we will get down to this. Please expect a call from us in a couple of days. Is there anything else I could do for you? The talk ended on that no. And no, I've never received the call, or an email, or anything. I didn't attempt to contact those superiors myself. But as I shouted to my speaker about research group and tracking devices, people back there had absolutely no idea of what the hell was going on. Soon enough, my phone number got blacklisted. I blame myself. Should be more patient in my expressions. The income was gone. I didn't receive a cent from them since the night of my stupid nap. They never picked up the tracking device, so it's still somewhere in my apartment collecting dust. I had to find another job to maintain myself. Sure, I had some leftover money. I'm not that stupid to spend everything at once. But according to my calculations, if I would tighten my belt and try to survive on it, I'd have enough for 4 to 5 months before I'm out. So it's better sooner than later, and I went to be an office clerk again. And I really wish this was the end of the story. I would post it somewhere so people would confront me, and I'd get to feel a bit better. But that was just the beginning of the nightmare my life turned into. For the whole month after our partnership break, it was all the same. Except you couldn't possibly sit me down in front of the TV and ask to watch something together. No sir. But one day I woke up with this strange feeling as if I was lying in a dark room with my eyes closed. But somebody switched on a powerful lamp above, and some light is breaking through the skin of my closed eyelids. It was an uncomfortable sensation, which could be unexpected sunshine breaking through the clouds. But the thing was, I am always asleep with the blinds down, so no light comes through my window. That was strange, but I didn't give it proper attention. Next episode happened at work. I was speaking to one of my colleagues and suddenly noticed that her pupils and hair had a touch of ash gray color. I asked if she dyed her hair or something, but she just stared back at me, laughed, and said, "No." And just weeks later, I remembered both of those incidents, and I've started to lose my sight. No, not like that. Even quite the opposite. How should I explain this? I've developed a rare condition, being unable to see the black spectrum completely. Generally speaking, I see those things that should be black, in bright white color. Of course, I went through countless Oculus examinations, some scanning and blood analysis. At some point, they even punctured the corner of my eyeball with a needle and took a probe of the tissue. It actually sounds worse than it is, really. But in the end, there was no explanation to my condition. Probably some rare mutation or degeneration of seeing nerve. Nobody could tell. I went practically blind. At first, it was more or less fine, much like walking through a winter forest in July. But as my disease progressed, my whole world became white as light of a million suns. White was emanating so intense that I couldn't see shapes anymore, just the smudges of color on a great plain of white nothing. The worst thing was sleeping. Each time my eyes closed, my head exploded. Have you ever heard of people going crazy, being left in snow deserts? It felt the same for me. As soon as my eyelashes touched, I got surrounded with agony of being trapped in a supernova. So I had to sleep with the warm yellow light on and my eyes open. That was hard to achieve, but I had no other option. I got a trained dog and a social worker to come check on me from time to time, bring food and all. I see them both more like moving outlines, rather than living beings. You would probably get terrified if you see my computer setup as I type this. The page background is pink and I print on it with yellow letters. It's a poor contrast, but it's the best visible combination of colors for me to see it. I blame those Netflix scientists and their stupid research activities. You might say that I'm just pitying myself and looking for a scapegoat, but trust me, I don't. Last week, I started to see the color black again. Well, sort of. I've suddenly realized that I see a thin line of black, as if the crack on an eggshell in the corner of my eye as I've blinked, and the wave of white flooded my vision. It was just like one of those tiny black floaters that you remember flying right before your eyes from time to time. I closed my eyes, ignoring the pain to give it a better look. Yes, indeed it was there at the edge of my sight. Then, day later it grew bigger, then bigger again and branched. And then the sounds appeared. As I closed my eyes, I could hear a barely audible sizzling sound, as if somebody spilled a couple of drops of water on a dry hot pan. It ends as soon as I opened my eyelids. Soon enough, it all turned to a spiderweb of cracks and hissing sounds that won't go away. I try not to blink anymore, but it's hard. Each time I do, I see it. I see it inside my head. The white crumbles revealing something horrible nested inside of me. The horrible sounds as if that thing is asking to feed it. I can't control it anymore. I'm afraid that soon it'll get strong enough to hatch. Sometimes, the tiny text paragraphs appear written in blood. Shout out to my superfans, Sweet Black Swan, Tacey, and Brooklyn. I really appreciate you guys supporting my channel, and I really look forward to making more content for everyone.